Hello, Herman Deal, the real deal here, Subconscious Fat newsletter. Yeah, this episode's a little emotional for me because I did recently lose a very close friend who I've known since before high school, um, and who was my age, and he passed away recently with cancer. And I just, I can't help reflect. I cannot help think about cancer, and I can't help coming with my own conclusions. Part of it is guilt that maybe I could have said something to him that maybe would have changed a little bit his treatment protocols or his diet, that maybe could have had an impact. And a lot of people might think, well, diet, why would diet is everything. We have to put a huge emphasis on diet. Okay, probably one of the biggest reasons that a person gets cancer to begin with is going to be diet. It is. Think of diet as the biggest foundational base for your health. Because think about this. What's the reality of cancer or any disease? Cells are dying and cells are replacing. They say every 7 years, you have like a totally new body. Cells are constantly dying and being replaced, constantly, constantly. And what's the one thing that we actually consume is food. I mean, food. So food is the building blocks of our body. If it's the building block, it's providing the foundation, then it's going to affect everything in health, including whether you get cancer, whether you get diabetes, how you think, what energy you have throughout the day, how well you sleep. The biggest factor is nutrition, the foods that we eat, the foods that we take in on a daily basis to rebuild our dying cells. That's the biggest factor. You can't, medicine likes to focus on giving medicine because these are doctors who were taught how to give medicine. The whole medical industry has a pharmaceutical industry behind it, and they're trying to sell drugs. So, and it's a mixed bag, right? Because we also have people like um, Steve Jobs. He could have done a simple, pretty simple 90% success rate surgery, and he probably would have prevented his cancer. He'd probably still be with us to this day, still be alive. So sometimes medicine is great, and medicine is great for acute care, for when, if I break a leg, an arm, if I get shot or stabbed, I'm going to want medical care without question. But when it comes to chronic illness, diet plays a huge role, and medical care is not the best by any stretch of the imagination. That's my opinion, but I'm sticking with it. So I'm going to just go through how diet can affect cancer and what are the big impacts and why I believe this to be so strongly the case. There's scientific evidence to back me up. So, first major thing to know is what's called the Warburg effect in cancer. This was a doctor back in the 1920s, German physician. He ended up winning the 1931 Nobel Prize for medicine. But he showed how glucose, sugar, in other words, sugar, really, really feeds cancer and helps cancer to grow and multiply. And this chart here shows the Warburg effect. Sugar, normal cells, the body uses it, needs oxygen, and the normal cells on the left side of the chart here, you can see that normal cells use sugar. But on the right, a cancer cell needs more sugar. So cancer cells typically require 10 to 200 times more sugar in order to survive and thrive, the cancer cell. So what does that mean? Well, it just means obviously, that means that we want to be on a diet that's not going to feed the cancer. We want to avoid sugar, of course. And this chart here shows how you eat anything like a banana and any other fruit or vegetable. Naan bread may have more carbohydrates. I guess I'm not sure, not even sure what naan bread is, but there's still a lot of carbohydrates. You're still getting sugar into the bloodstream. Now, yes, Something like a banana might be better than a lot of other carbohydrates in junk food. Of course it is. But it's still sugar. It's still getting into the bloodstream. It can still make cancer grow. And keep in mind, I'm not saying sugar's the only thing that makes cancer grow. I mean, for crying out loud, you might live where there was a nuclear fallout and that's giving you cancer. There's a lot of things that can give you cancer. I'm not saying sugar's the only thing, but I'm saying if we know that cancer needs sugar, among other things, glutamine is another thing that cancer feeds on. But if we know that sugar's a huge part of it, why are we eating foods that eventually break down into sugar? We should be avoiding that completely. And doctors know this because doctors use, as you can see here, they inject you with a nucleoglucose sugar peptide. It gets injected into you, and then the MRI will show where the cancer is just eating up tons of sugar. And here you can see it in the MRI. That bright spot where the arrow is pointing, that's the cancer. And that's sugar. That cancer is eating up the sugar. So we use sugar to diagnose if you have cancer. So doctors know this. I mean, we're using the freaking sugar to diagnose if you have cancer because it shows up bright on the MRI. Yet, then when it comes to diet, we don't tell patients to avoid sugar. And this is where the medical profession lacks big time because they don't see diet as foundational to health. They don't want it doesn't they don't want to see it as foundational because they want to give drugs. So they'll say simple things like, yeah, avoid the simple sugars. Okay. Yeah, everybody knows that. You avoid simple sugars to not gain weight, to avoid diabetes, to avoid cancer. We all know that. Avoid the simple sugars. But then they don't get into, well, cut down on lots of bread and. But then they'll still say with the fruit and vegetables, they'll still say, oh, but you got to eat your fruits and vegetables. I mean, you don't want to avoid that. I mean, come on, you got to eat your fruits and vegetables. Everybody knows that's healthy. No, fruits and vegetables still breaks down into sugar. It still becomes sugar. It just takes longer. The cancer can still feed on the sugar breaking down from vegetables and fruit. And here's more scientific evidence. There was a study done back in 2006 in JAMA. This is published in JAMA, a scientific study. 48,835 postmenopausal women. And here's the crazy thing. They were given a diet of 5 daily servings of fruits and vegetables. So more fruits and vegetables and at least 6 servings of grains, and it was low fat. I can tell you right now, low fat, not good. This is not going to be good for them. I would not want to be one of the women in this study. But in any case, after 8.1 years, the conclusion is that, well, it didn't really help with colorectal cancer. And they didn't really advertise it. But here's the crazy thing. Not only did it not help, but those the intervention group, the ones that were eating more fruits and vegetables, had an 8% higher rate of colorectal cancer. You can see it right there. More fruits and vegetables had a higher rate of colorectal cancer. And one thing would be if I just knew that, if I just believe that fruits and vegetables are the end all be all, then you could say, oh, that's statistical error. Oh, that was just, you know, a weird finding. But when you know that fruits and vegetables do break down into sugar, and that the Warburg effect shows that cancer, one of the main things it feeds on, not the only thing, but one of the main energy sources for cancer to grow and spread is sugar, then it's just logical to conclude, like, duh, then avoid the fruits and vegetables. But no, doctors sort of conveniently ignore this. And I'm not blaming most doctors. I know a lot of doctors are good people. They don't have time to look at these other studies. They just don't have time. They have time to do what they are taught. And so, again, I don't like to blame medical doctors because most medical doctors became a doctor to help people. The intention in the beginning was good. But then I believe they end up getting corrupted by the system because behind the medical education is a pharmaceutical industry. And when you are taught to look at everything and your tool is the hammer, and this is your only tool, a hammer, everything looks like a nail. And all you want to do is hit the hammer with your nail. This is the tool, medicine, nail, and that's how you think, and it affects everything else. And medical students, they don't have time to look at other things. They got to get through from one test to the next. They got to get through a curriculum that's very difficult, very hard. You have to be smart to get through medical school, have at least very good memory. But there's really no time to have any independent thinking. And there's no time to connect the dots like, well, yeah, sugar, and there's just no time. And so I'm, not blaming medical doctors. I'm blaming more the pharmaceutical industry, and more that it's just, we do live in a capitalistic society. You have to be realistic. Pharmaceutical companies want to make money. They don't want to sell you the idea that changing your diet could prevent cancer or stop it, or could prevent diabetes, could reverse diabetes. I mean, the same diet that I recommend for my clients to lose weight, to get a six-pack, to get a flat stomach, is the same diet that prevents cancer, that reverses diabetes, that reverses sleep apnea. And this is why we need to think of diet and the foods we eat as foundational. And this is why I made this video. And I have friends of my friend who passed away, who have had issues with prostate cancer. And it's like, man, I'm at least going to send him this video. I'm at least going to do that. Look, thunderstorm. Maybe that's a warning sign. I'm at least going to send him this video like, hey, is it going to kill you to go on a ketogenic carnivore diet? Is it going to kill you to just avoid fruits and vegetables for a little while? And yes, you may need some coaching, because if you've been eating fruits and vegetables your entire life, every day, if you stop all of a sudden, it might be a shock to the system. That's the other basic concept that we need to understand. You have an innate intelligence. If you've been eating fruits and vegetables your entire life, you are used to that. You have adapted yourself to that. Understand that transitioning into a more ketogenic carnivore diet might mean that you're going to go through, you may get some diarrhea, you may not feel so well, which is why you want to do it slowly and carefully, and not all at once. Some people try this type of diet too quickly and they don't get the result they want. So just wanted to put this video out there, again, because it's been top of mind. I miss my friend dearly. I don't want to lose more friends to cancer. I've lost enough. I'm going to give this video to anyone that I ever know, and maybe I don't really want to talk shop with them, because this is my business and that I help men over 40 get fit. I don't want to give them a lecture, but I'm at least going to send them this video to help them out, to make them maybe see the light, and like, hey, let's do a better diet while we're going through this phase where we want to get rid of the cancer, where we want to reverse diabetes. Let's be a little bit strict for a little while. You may not need to do it forever. In any case, thank you for watching this edition of Subconscious Fat. I'll be back on Thursday with Mr. Skeptical, and next Monday again with another video. And this Friday coming up, I also have a podcast coming out. Thank you for watching. Bye.